Wood, can you hear me?
I sure can. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Damon, have you done the mic check?
We are now live on the internet. Thank you.
I have not. Good afternoon.
Sounds great, and I can see your video feed nice and clear, so thank you. And Supervisor Lee, Joe Mendoza will be your clerk today. Christina, would you like to do a mic check? Christina,
Yes.
would you like to do a mic check? Oh, I just heard you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
I think we're good.
Hey, Camille, I'm on with the Board of Supervisors. Hello, I'm on with the Board of Supervisors.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Did you see that, Nancy?
I sure did.
Okay, perfect.
Looked good.
Okay, great, thanks.
And welcome, Supervisor Chavez.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Greta. Welcome.
Okay, looks like I have 2
Recording
o'clock.
in progress.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is 2 p.m. We are ready when you are.
Well, thank you very much. Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the FGOC Finance Government Operations Committee meeting to order. This time, I'm Otto. I'm honored to chair the FGOC along with Vice Chair Supervisor Cindy Chavez. Today, with both supervisors present, we have a quorum. First of all, I would like to start with the public comment section, which is a section reserved for members of public wanting to address the committee on items not on this agenda. The law does not permit committee action or extended discussion of things that is not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If action is required, then we could put in a future agenda. And Clerk, would you let me know how many speakers do we have today for public comment?
We do not have any requests to speak at this time, Mr. Chair.
Sure, I'll wait about a few seconds in case people want to raise their hands.
We do have one hand raised.
Okay, then we'll just have that speaker for 3 minutes, please. Go ahead.
3 minutes, sir, or 2?
3, since it's less than 5 people. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure.
Our first speaker is O. Oshiro. I am unmuting you. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Is this on agenda item 8?
Oh, no, we are only dealing with non-agenda items.
Okay,
Yeah,
then we're
so,
gonna wait.
yeah, okay, thank you. All right. Anybody else? There's the hands up.
We do have one more speaker, sir. It is Irvish. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will
Okay.
start when you begin speaking.
Yes, go ahead.
Irvish?
Thank you. Thank you very much to Board of Supervisors as well as the Finance and Operations Committee. I wanted to mention about what are the different initiatives that has been taken with regards to the financial bill, as well as what has been transpired as the reform and as well as the different economical changes that's being provided to the County of Santa Clara. First of all, it is important as a part of advocacy, the Inflation Reduction Act that has been introduced. But most importantly, it is important that the county be taken into consideration of the financial statistics as well as the International Monetary Fund, that how the money is being regulated and how the Inflation Reduction Act directly impacts the different bills as well as the spendings that is being going out through the Finance and Operations Committee with respect to the jurisdiction of a county, and as well as the different aspect that directly relates to the Senate as well as Assembly bills and the implementation of overall statistical analysis within the County of Santa Clara. It is also imperative that such development, when taking place through the County of Santa Clara, regardless of the bills that are being implemented and the development that is being taking place, it is important that how the Inflation Reduction Act will be directly working through the functionality of a real estate development as well as the housing and the landscape development pricing within the County of Santa Clara. Moreover, when such bills are being implemented, they are directly related to the improving the economical changes of the respective nation, state, and the county and the city. As the county's jurisdiction spans over the states and as well as directly working with the city, it is important that, to implement the bill with respect to the amount of funding that is being available directly to the County of Santa Clara. I also wanted to emphasize that though the county has got its own ordinance and mandates, it is equally important that, what are the balancing act that is required to be performed when such bills and the fundings are being received to the County of Santa Clara. Thank you very much for the consideration of comments.
Our next speaker is Lorena Breonus. I am unmuting you. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorena Breonus. I'm a chief steward for Department of Family and Children's Services. Labor Relations and Behavioral Health Management stated that Supervisor Chavez misspoke when she mentioned involving Social Services Agency, Department of Family and Children's Services in the redesign of the behavioral health proposed. And I'm here to ask that DFCS plays a role in the continuum of care. The management audit report is correct in that it ignores other services and does not support the youth and the family's needs. There is no outcome measure of success for the youth, and DFCS has a referral right now dealing with this. The youth was on probation. There was no continuum of care or quality intensive service plan implemented. The youth got out of James Ranch and the parents refused to take the youth. The parents said the systems failed the youth. DFCS was called and we have no appropriate placement, home or treatment plan because it is not considered parent neglect. It's systems inability to be one continuum of care. This behavioral health redesign is a broken system, and this idea of wasting money and time traveling does nothing for the trauma issues that need to be addressed. The redesign proposed by behavioral health is not fixing the broken system, but making the system worse. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any other speakers?
We do have one more, sir. It
Okay,
is Andre Thomas. I'm unmuting you. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Andre Thomas, Assistant Chief Steward at SEIU 521. Behavioral Health Department's proposed redesign plan limits the ability for families to access services due to shortening operational hours and takes away the ability to service providers to provide treatment to the youth by requiring service providers to travel between the county's juvenile justice centers. The current plan is ineffective, insufficient, and wasteful of county resources that it minimizes treatment and access to services and is structured in a way that represents a business model as opposed to a service model. Many of the youth come from unfortunate life circumstances, and if the redesign is not executed properly, the impacts can potentially create undue tension and negative effects to the communities we serve. I implore this committee to take a deeper dive and probe the department's redesign plans and make revisions accordingly. Thank you.
That concludes our request to speak, Mr. Chair.
good. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for now for item number 2 and move to number 3, which is to approve the consent calendar and any changes to the committee's agenda today. So the items that are removed from the consent calendar will be considered at the end of the regular agenda for discussion. The committee may also add items onto regular agenda to the consent calendar. Notice to public is that there's no separate discussion of the consent calendar items, and the recommended actions are voted on in one motion. If an item is approved on consent vote, the specific action recommended by staff is adopted. Members of the public who wish to address the committee on consent calendar items should comment under this item. Actually, before I even ask the speakers, I want to go over. So currently, right now on the agenda, I have items 16 through number 20 on the consent calendar. And I actually would like to propose to add 3 more items onto the consent as well, namely item number 4, 13, 14, and 15. I'm going to check with Aisha Chavez if she has any comment on that, if she has anything else she would like to put on consent.
Thank you. I would be comfortable adding item 5, item 7, item 11, 12, and 13 with comments to consent.
Mhm.
And I would like to defer item 9 to the next meeting. And actually, I could even add item 6 to consent.
Okay.
Supervisor, you do have comments you'd like to make on 5, 6, and 7.
5, 6, 7. Okay, yes. So I do have some comments on 5, 6, and 7. So if you don't mind, we could try to hear those 5, 6, and 7. But the rest, I believe, will be okay in terms of putting on
You want
consent.
to hear, I'm sorry, you want to hear items 5?
6 and 7. Yeah, those we do have a couple of comments on that. And I do know that there's a time certain. I believe you need to close off this meeting by 3 o'clock, 1500 military time, as we say. So I think if we make these adjustments, I think we could be pretty close. And if anything we cannot hear by 3 o'clock, we could certainly defer that to the next meeting as well. So right now, the motion is to defer item number 9, putting item number 4, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 onto the consent calendar. Am I correct?
Yes, or, yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, good. All right, so that's the, okay, so let me go and open up the public hearing, see if anybody in public would like to speak on those items.
No request to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. May I have a motion?
Yes, I'm going to make a motion with a few comments. I want to just say how much I appreciate the staff's work on all the consent calendar items. The clarity and completeness of the information make it possible for us to move these to consent. And frankly, so much of the direction and feedback given by myself and my colleagues is being addressed. On item 12, this is a sustainability report. Really appreciate that the work that's being done, and also want to continue to encourage the continued work with the Air District for AB 617 communities. I really want to make sure we're in line for that. And I'd like an off-agenda report on the status of the work just sent to the committee. On item 13, this is the whistleblower annual report. It's very comprehensive and very clear. I was particularly grateful for the report addressing retaliatory complaints, which is a key issue that I'm concerned about, and noted that multiple whistleblower complaints were sustained or partially sustained during the reporting period. I'd like to add that the one pager that EOD is developing that we will hear more about, I'm certain will result in additional whistleblower complaints as an employee and members of the public become more aware of the program. I know we put that on consent as well. Item 15 is the competitive grants. The report indicates that of the 24 million in grant funds awarded to the CEO's office, 7 million has not been earned or expended. Most of this appears to be in the Office of Supportive Housing. And so my only point is that if hiring is an issue, I hope that ESA can give support to the Office of Supportive Housing and the CEO to prioritize these recruitments, so we're not leaving money on the table that we could be using for housing. And those are all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Chavez, and I'll go ahead and make a second to the motion. And I actually have some comments as well on item number 12, which is regarding the Office of Sustainability. So first of all, I want to thank staff for this report and for providing the highlights. The report mentions that the Heat and Air Quality Resilience HAQR Working Group launched as part of the Santa Clara County Climate Collaborative. This is certainly great news, and I'm glad to hear that there's a great trend out there. I do also want to discuss the off-agenda report that was provided to us on April 12, 2022 regarding the Sustainability Commission formation. The report identified potential courses of action for creating this Sustainability Commission, including the research and informational interviews on Sustainability Commission models and best practices, initial partnership discussion with the SCCOE, and how to implement this. But I also know that with the staff workload, this has not been moving along as fast, and we certainly might need to add additional staff to, as recommended during our last budget hearing that's been approved. So I would like to ask if the administration come back within the next 90 days or sooner if can, to try to get a timeline and implementation strategy on the creation of commission. Basically, in so many words, I think a lot of the things that we're doing here for creating commission, I think it might be better to just have the commission created, and then once a member has been put on board, that they could come up with other ideas and suggestions, and we shouldn't have to try to design every little thing about this commission, make it perfect at this point. So I think getting it going, I think is probably more important now. So I just wanted to add that to my comments, and that's all I have. And if no further comments, please vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving to item number 5, because 4 we put on consent already, right? So 5 is the receiving report of Office County Executive relating to Management Audit Division recommendation regarding the Administrative Capital Committee, which is a referral from August 18th, 2022. Here to present, I believe, is Greg Utoria, our Budget Director from the Office of County Executive.
Members of the committee, thank you. This is Greg Utoria, County Budget Director. And this report submitted is in response to a conversation that the committee had last month with the Management Audit Division. And amongst their variety of recommendations, one of them was to have a formal appointment for the Administrative Capital Committee. This is an administrative committee that supports the development of the recommended budget by the county executive, and the committee reviews funding proposals submitted by departments for capital projects, and puts together recommendations to the county executive for consideration in the development of the adopted of the recommended budget that's published each spring. And so this report includes the formal appointment made by the county executive. If there are any questions, happy to support the committee.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I do have a couple of questions. Vice Chair Chavez, assume you have no questions on this one, correct?
I do not.
Okay, good. And I would just ask quickly. So right now we have, I believe, Greta, Greg, and Jeff being appointed to this, Jeff Draper, that is, to the committee. And I would like to see if there's any context as to the selection of those individuals, how those decided.
Yeah, it pretty much reflects the historic practice for that committee. Generally, over the last 10 or more years, it often includes the chief operating officer, not always, but often does. And it's always included the budget director and the director of facilities and fleet. And so I think this is just more of a formalization of that, and it reflects the past practice of the county executive asking those executives to review all proposals and develop recommendations for his consideration as he puts together a balanced recommended budget.
Great, thank you for the explanation. And the other one is regarding the logistics around these meetings. How often will they be meeting? Is this scheduled on a periodic basis, and whether can the public attend as well?
It is it's a staff meeting. It is, it's not a Brown Act meeting or a public meeting. And it generally meets roughly once per month this time of year in the fall. And then in the months leading up to the development of the recommended budget in February and March, it will meet twice a month, just because there is, much work to do. And the sessions tend to be about 3 hours long, and they're working sessions when going through all the different capital projects, updated revenue estimates, and updated timelines, and hearing from departments about any contextual information that helps. So they're really just working staff meetings, literally in a conference room, in a workroom, with spreadsheets and reports and whatnot, if that helps kind of helps you visualize the working nature of this administrative capital committee.
Great, thank you very much, Greg. And I don't have any further questions. Do we have any public on speaking on this item?
No request to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if that's the case, close the public hearing. And is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
I now second it, and let's take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Yes.
and Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, which is receiving the audit report from the finance agency relating to the county annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. And I believe to present this today, we have Margaret Alaya and also Benjamin Lau from finance agency. Am I correct?
Good afternoon, Chair. That is correct.
Good afternoon, Margaret.
So we just wanted to give you a retrospective overview of accounting for the last fiscal year. I have been here to provide you some highlights. Not sure how you want us to lead the discussion today, but wanted to leave that open for discussion or direction from the committee. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you. Go ahead, Ben. Nope, you're still muted.
My name is Benjamin Lau. I'm the engagement partner of the audit of the County of Santa Clara's financial statements as well as single audit. I'm here to present the result of the audit, and I'll cut this relatively short. In summary, we have completed our audit, and for the financial statement itself, we have issued a modified opinion on the financial statement, which in other words, it is a clean report, no qualification on the report. And the other report that we have issued is on the federal compliance, which is a single audit. And I'm here to deliver the great result, which is for this fiscal year 2021, we have not identified any findings on either compliance or internal control over compliance. So this has been a long time since this happened. So congrats to the county. And with that, I know this is relatively short, but I'm ready for any questions you might have.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for all the good work to make this happen. And I want to thank our finance agency, MGO, and all the involved partners for the help of getting this published and these various audit reports, and also, of course, the awesome results that you are reporting. Before I ask any questions, I would like to see if my vice chair would like to maybe hear from public first. Okay, so let me see. Any in the public would like to speak on this item?
No request to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if that's the case, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and I'll go ahead and ask my question. It's actually a question more directed to the SSA HSS staff, but if there are any parts that apply to either the finance agency, MGO, certainly I welcome any context that you may be able to provide. During last year's reports, the committee found that the in-house supportive services firm HSS reassessment compliance rates were only at 80.54%. And the administration believed that we would be able to get up to 90% within 2 years. It was noted that limited resources and extensive use of HSS staff as disaster service workers, the DSWs, as part of the county's response were the reasons why we were unable to reach our goal of 100% compliance at the time. So this year's report also noted that our current efforts are being hampered by the need to devote significant resources and efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic during the past years. So when we asked the question, it was explained to us that the latest California Department of Social Services report shows that we currently at a 79.52 compliant rate, and the CDSS requires our county be minimally compliant at 80% at least. So in an effort to better learn about the issue and see how we can help our social services agency, I'm going to ask the administration to provide a presentation to FGOC next month regarding these issues that SSA and IHSS is facing around improving our county's current reassessment compliance rates, along with any suggestions or recommendations that we can implement to increase our rates as soon as possible and well above the 80% minimum. That would be something I would ask. Is that something that's doable?
Yes, sir, we can arrange that for you next month.
Okay, very good. Okay, I see I don't have questions anymore. I think that's all I have. And I believe Vice Chair Chavez might have just stepped out. I don't see her.
No, I'm fine.
Oh, you did. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see her face. Okay, so if that's the case, do I have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Now second it, and let's take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Here, yes.
and Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And moving on to item number 7, which is on the agenda of reporting regarding progress on the fiscal year 2021-22 work plan activities. I believe to present this today, I believe Robin Rose, our internal audit manager, is here. Hello, Robin.
Hi, good afternoon, Supervisor.
Good afternoon.
Hi. I don't have a presentation, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have on specific items.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for all that information. Very comprehensive. First of all, let me see. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak on this item?
No request to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and I'll ask Supervisor Chavez, do you have any question on this?
I do not.
Okay, all right. I have a couple, and let me just go through those. Robin, thank you for the update concerning the fiscal year 21-22 work plan activities. When you provided a presentation on the audit work plan last year, the committee, along with Dr. Smith, publicly noted the need to hire more staff within the IED. During last year's discussion, you know that the team has 9 people. And I believe the Supervisor Chavez and I expressed our concerns around needing to quickly finish up the backlog of the work. And we asked that Dr. Smith highlight any additional staffing and capacities to the budget. In reviewing of the report, I've noticed that now we have a capacity of 2 more, like 11 positions, but there are only 9 of those positions being filled with 2 still being vacant. And labeled as alternatively staffed internal auditors. The report indicates that there's still an estimated backlog of over like 9,600 hours of work that needs to be completed. So I guess my concern is that the rate we're moving at this point, is it really quick enough to clear out this backlog right? And I certainly want to see this vacant position being filled quickly to increase the capacity for you to do your work at IAD. So do you have any comments on this one, Robin?
I know, well, recruitment efforts, I think given COVID, I noticed it's been a little bit harder to recruit, which I think can be said across the board countywide with the cost of living here, other agencies allowing for remote work. So it's been a lot harder to recruit compared to the past, where we might get 40 to 50 applicants. And now it's been reduced to just a handful of applicants for each recruitment. And then when we go through the process, they either take another job or they're not suited for the position. So we're trying to talk strategically inside our office to figure out the best way to go about the recruitment, maybe at a 2 or internal audit or 3 level, and see if we can get a bigger pool and then just train and have them work. So we did recently hire the 2 of the staff. We had 7, now we have 9. And so our goal by the end of this fiscal year is to be fully staffed at 11.
Right. So hopefully we could obviously increase these staffing quickly in order to deal with the backlog that's been occurring for so long. And one of the things looking into is whether it makes sense to even potentially outsource some of the work to another auditing firm outside in order to get the work done. If that's necessary, just let us know. Okay, and that's all I have. Do I have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
And I'll second it as well. And please take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving to item number 8. Okay, receiving a management audit of the James Ranch program for the Management Audit Division and provide direction regarding audit recommendations. I believe here we have Cheryl Soloff and your team.
Yes.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Cheryl Solov, Management Audit Manager. And I have with me today Nemesio Cabral, who worked on the James Ranch audit, and he is going to present a very brief overview.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nemesio Cabral, Senior Analyst with the Management Audit Division. Just quickly, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'll be summarizing the key issues and our recommendations for the James Ranch Management Audit. Quickly, just a brief overview of the ranch. The James Ranch is a secure residential rehabilitation treatment facility operated by the Probation Department. It has a 108-bed capacity for youth up to the age of 19 for court-ordered stays between 6 to 8 months. This audit began in August 2021, and the final report was issued in June of this year. The report contains 5 findings and 14 recommendations, and the Probation Department agrees or partially agrees with 5 of 8 recommendations and disagrees with 3. Behavioral Health Services Department agrees or partially agrees with all 6 mental health related recommendations deferred to them by probation, and I'll discuss these in section 2. First issue was about measurement of program outcomes. We reviewed outcome data for the ranch and found that the department only measures recidivism up to 1 year after youth are released from the ranch, even though one of the goals of the program is to reduce recidivism up to 18 months after program exit. Other outcomes such as employment and education are also not tracked post-release despite the ranch offering educational and vocational services. And this makes it impossible to evaluate the effectiveness of these programs. As a result, there's insufficient outcome data to show whether the ranch program is effective or achieving its stated goals. To address this, we recommend development of program measures, periodic, more robust evaluations conducted every 3 years, and contracting with an independent research specialist to assist with long-term measures and to overcome measurement challenges reported by the department. Now moving on to mental health. Management staff of the ranch and behavioral health services reported that there are youth at the ranch who have a higher level of needs than the program can serve. However, no one could provide an exact number because of limitations of tools used to assess mental health. According to policies, these youth may not meet the requirements for the program, but there are no alternative placements in the county. We worked with the ranch and behavioral health services to estimate that somewhere between 4 to 6 youth committed to the ranch in 2021 had greater or more severe mental health needs than the ranch can appropriately serve, but a more precise measure is needed. So we recommend an improved tool to assess the severity levels of mental health needs, allocating additional resources to those who need a higher level of support, and adjusting the services targeting this group as needed. This issue should be monitored to ensure appropriate steps are being taken. The third issue was about the scheduling and staffing structure. Probation counselors at the ranch work 6 mandatory 16-hour shifts per month, and their schedule rotates every 2 weeks. So essentially, who the youth are with on certain days changes regularly. Research suggests that long shifts exceeding 12 hours increase the risk of injury to staff, and rotating staff reduce continuity of contact between the staff and youth. This is contrary to program goals and also best practices. The ranch relies on a pool of 47 temporary extra help probation counselors to fill gaps in coverage. This further contributes to discontinuity, and it also exceeds the department's need for relief coverage. The department does not routinely assess its total staffing needs or forecast youth populations. So we recommend a schedule that meets industry standards, a more consistent schedule with shifts no longer than 12 hours, reducing the pool of extra help counselors to maintain greater continuity with youth, and forecasting youth commitments every 3 years to make the staffing plan. Section 4, safety and security. So in a report from 2020, the county identified several security risks at the ranch and made recommendations to fortify it. For example, upgrades to better secure the perimeter, bulletproofing certain areas, and replacing keys with access cards, to name a few. And these recommended improvements could reduce the risk to youth, staff, and the neighboring community. However, none of the physical security and fortification needs listed in the report have been completed as of our fieldwork, and we observed some weaknesses in 2021. So we recommend implementing the security fortification recommendations made by the county in 2020 and providing training to staff on these improvements. Lastly, this was about contract monitoring, specifically evidence-based practices. Between fiscal years 2019 and 2021, the ranch had 66 contracts with vendors and other departments or government agencies to provide professional services at the ranch. During our fieldwork, we reviewed 20 of these agreements, and we found that although the department reviews contractor performance regularly, it does not have a method or practice of measuring and recording if service providers are using evidence-based practices and doing so correctly or with fidelity. So we recommend periodically checking for adherence to evidence-based practices twice annually to ensure optimal program outcomes involving service providers. This concludes the presentation, and we'll be happy to take any questions at this point.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me ask Vice Chair Chavez, do you have any question on this report?
I would love to weigh in after
The public hearing?
speaks. Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody in public would like to speak on this item, number 8?
We do not have any hands raised, Mr. Chair. Oh,
Okay.
we do now, sorry.
All right.
Looks like we
just
have
one?
3 so far.
3 so far. How about 2 minutes each, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our first speaker is Star. I am unmuting you. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. Star Brookamont Law, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Star Law, and I work as a probation counselor at James Ranch. I have been with a probation family for 17 years. I serve as our union chief and would like to share our thoughts on the audit. We feel Section 2, the mental health needs, we need to be proactive, knowing that we are going to get the higher needs youth and having the tools to be effective. We need to train probation staff and have collaboration and communication with behavioral health to better support these youth, as well as DFCS after their care in our program. Currently, there are only 6 behavioral health staff for the hall and the ranch. The redesign of behavioral health should have included input from the staff working with the youth daily. The ranch needs a team on campus as well as a treatment team to serve our youth. We do not agree with behavioral health redesign that has one treatment team traveling between the ranch and the hall. The ranch is a 6 to 8 month program where we have the opportunity to affect change. Further, our youth have school most of the day, and we want to support that structure in their lives with less interruption for treatment during school hours. We agree with the ranch having a specialized pod for higher needs youth. The hall has such pods in collaboration with behavioral health. And with collaboration with behavioral health, place youth accordingly. We see this pod having 3 staff instead of 2 for support. That pod will have extra support from behavioral health as needed. Staff will have extra training. Staff will have weekly meetings with behavioral health. Staff will be given tools and trained how to use them effectively. Having a specialized pod will allow other pods to run the program to fidelity, conduct the cognitive pieces of the program with less interruption, which will have more positive outcomes. As for the scheduling, we were on that COVID schedule of 16s. We've implemented a regular COVID testing to stay on our new preferred schedule, which is a mixture of 8s and 16s. The days that are 16s are followed by an evening shift or a day off. Each pod has the same 6 staff for consistency, 2 per shift. As for the reduction in our extra help, we do not agree with this assessment as our pod needs support to take much needed time off, and we would like to have our staff trained.
Our next speaker is O. Oshiro. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, I'm Ozell Oshiro. I'm a probation counselor here at the James Ranch. I'm also the programs coordinator here. I would like to speak to the piece about contract monitoring. I believe more program evaluations are needed. We should also have periodic program observations in persons, unannounced, to ensure fidelity, and if the programs are relevant and useful to our youth, and elicit more feedback from youth and staff. I also think we should require program contractors to submit their respective programs' goals, objectives, and evidence-based practices in a narrative form, so we even have something to measure if those objectives are being met. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Fabui. I am unmuting you. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson Lee and Vice Chairperson Chavez, and the member of the Finance and Government Operation Committee. I do wanted to apologize because I am not an eloquent speaker. My name is Fabui. I am a Chief Steward for SEIU 521 and Psychiatric Social Worker for Behavioral Health at Juvenile Hall for 17 plus years. I would like to address the redesign and the concerns as the result of Starlight terminating its contract. This redesign should focus on the treatment and services provided to the youth and the family, as well as taking into considerations the safety of the community when the youth transition back home. During the redesign process, management have not listened to frontline staff, nor was there any transparency about the plan. We are mandated to travel between Juvenile Hall and James Ranch. At some point in time, our frontline staff spent 2 hours unproductive time in the car. This is very detrimental to the youth and their family because we are forced to terminate our relationship when we are made to bid into the various programs. Management is also rolling back the operation hours, which impact our availability to provide treatment to the youth, as well as being available to the underprivileged family that does not have the opportunity to work an 8 to 5 job. While as a result of rolling back the operation hour, we are pulling youth out of school for treatment. We are concerned that we are violating their Title 15 because we were told that treatment is not effective in the evening as they are prepared for bed at 7 p.m.
Our next speaker is Andre. I am unmuting. Oh, it looks like Andre had already spoken, Mr. Chair, so that concludes our request to speak.
Okay, thank you. I'll go and direct to Vice Chair Chavez and your questions, please.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to speak to an issue that was raised by Lorena earlier today, and I'm really saying this to Sherry and to our senior staff, Greta, that I in fact did not misspeak in my request to have the Department of Children and Family Services engaged. We've really got to be much more integrated in our approach. And so I want to make sure they're included in any discussions that are going on around redesign. Second, if you could respond to the issue that was just raised by the last speaker, and then I'll go through the list, my perspective on the audit. Whoever is responsible for scheduling counseling would be great to have weigh in now.
Sure, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rachel Talamontes and Zelia Fria Costa, who oversee our behavioral health services in both Juvenile Hall and the ranch.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Rachel Talamontes, happy to be here today. With regards to scheduling, are you referring to the change in operational hours?
Yes, and the issues that have been raised about young youth being pulled out of classrooms and us not doing evening services any longer and all of that. Yes.
Right. So I can assure you, it has never been the practice to remove youth from their school settings for behavioral health services. It is not our current practice, and it will not be our practice in the future. There are sometimes individual needs that may come up, or special situations that would be anomalies that youth would be removed from school for the benefit of their behavioral health, but that is not our typical practice by any means and will not be so moving forward. With regards to staffing at the ranch, the behavioral health staff has always worked until 7 o'clock, and that will continue. And the staff at Juvenile Hall have traditionally worked until 9 p.m. Recently, there was a change on Saturdays and Sundays to 7 p.m. And we have seen no concerns that have risen. In addition, we have on-call staff that provide support anytime we're not physically on site. During the evening hours, Monday through Friday, we are moving hours to end at 7 p.m., but that will also allow staff to come on earlier. And by staff coming on earlier, they'll be able to provide more immediate support to youth who have just come into Juvenile Hall, providing screening, assessment, and support. Also, between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m., where our behavioral health services have not been kind of highly utilized during that time frame. And for the purposes of individual therapy and that kind of deeper level work, it's not the most ideal time for our young people to be kind of looking at their traumas and adversities, et cetera, when they're kind of fulfilling, if you will, or wrapping up the end of their day, et cetera. So we will be able to continue to provide, we're actually in this redesign providing increased levels of behavioral health support at each of the facilities once our hiring process has been complete. As you and the public may know, we were just approved for some additional positions. And so those are in the process of recruitment and moving forward. And we will have staff that are on site at Juvenile Hall 7 days a week from 8:30 to 7 p.m. We'll have staff that are on site at the ranch facility during those same hours, and those staff will be stationary. And then in addition to that, we will have a team that will provide the individual and family therapy supports that will travel 1 or 2 days a week back and forth between the facilities. And that's for the purpose of continuity of care, so that individuals, our young people and our families, as they start with a therapist at Juvenile Hall, they can maintain that therapeutic relationship and support with the same therapist when they go to the ranch, rather than having to end services with one clinician to start services with another, to maintain the therapeutic relationship and maintain the therapeutic progress.
And Rachel, in the report that we have, and you don't need to give this to me right now, but in the report that we have in front of us, could you just shoot us a quick email about where this redesign is reflected in here? And if it is not reflected, if you could give us what's happening now and a comparison to what will change, because I I understand much of what you said, but what I'm having a hard time just understanding is how the coverage works. I appreciate the point you raised about the continuity, and I think I understand that, and that makes a lot of sense to me, but I still don't understand the coverage. So either just shoot an email over to me and Supervisor Lee. I always say that, Otto, just so no one's communicating with just one of us, but both of us, so that I would know where it is. And if it isn't in here, if you could prepare something that is more clear to us about, or maybe me, I won't put you in that bucket either, Otto, but more clear to me about what's happening now, what the new redesign will implicate for our clients.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Supervisor Lee, I am prepared to walk through the recommendations kind of one by one, if that's what you were planning to do. You're on mute, Otto.
I hate it when it happens, but I'm talking to myself. Yes, no, I completely agree. I think that would be a good way to go line by line and on these fronts and making sure that we do get those covered. Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. On 1.1, because there's agreement, I think we just receive and accept that one. On 1.2, this is the outside researcher, and I understand what the staff is saying is that we have internal researchers that can accomplish this task. Am I understanding, Chief Garnett, your response?
Yeah, Supervisor, that is our response. And frankly, we just haven't had great luck with outside evaluators. They just don't understand our system enough. The data isn't scrubbed the same way. There's a lot of reasons, but yes.
Yeah, I'm comfortable supporting probation with this, with the one caveat that we would want to make sure that the evaluations come to the appropriate committee.
Okay.
So that there's a method of follow-up that's external to the department. Supervisor Lee, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Supervisor, just for clarification, would that be children, seniors, and families, or back to this committee?
I would think that long-term, it may make sense for children's, families, seniors, or public safety and justice, but I was assuming children's families.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you think it should go somewhere else.
No, I think it makes sense.
Thank you. On item 2.1, this is under the mental health needs. On this one, I have to say I was mindful of the staff's response here to be in partial agreement. I think that what I would want to see is a report out on the method of sharing information on this item. I think that's the kind of the key, Cheryl, point that your team is making about the continuity. So I'd want to see a work plan attached to that communication, and then proof, Cheryl, to you that it's being done. Supervisor Lee, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 2.2, this item is also a partial agreement. I think on this item, I would agree with the behavioral health services response here, and mostly because of the assessment tool. But on this one, again, I would want to make sure, Cheryl, that the tool being used is one that's actually being used and effective in terms of, the wheel of assessment. If you all could do follow up on that partial agreement. Supervisor Lee, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am. Sherry, are you okay with that? I just want to make sure, since you will be implementing this.
Yes, we can respond to that.
Okay.
On item 2.3, this one I was a little bit this one anyway, I was a little confused by this one, and I wanted to ask Sherry if you could just, or whichever staff is appropriate, outline the objections to the recommendation.
I can respond to that again.
Great, thanks, Rachel.
Yeah. With the lowered census over the past couple of years at the ranch, we have traditionally had an appropriate amount of behavioral health staff that has been able to provide one-on-one support when necessary. So it's not so much the objection of additional support, just that the staff that has been at the ranch have already been in the position of being able to provide direct one-on-one support when that's necessary. And there are definitely times where they have done that. And moving forward, that is part of our plan as well. So the objection is really not so much that youth wouldn't benefit from individual support, more so that we have the existing resources to provide that now.
As long as that is confirmed and can be reiterated by the management analyst, then I think this could be accepted in its current form, unless Supervisor Lee, you have an objection. Okay, thank you. Item 2.4 and 2.5 and 2.4 and 2.5 are in agreement, so we'll move on to 2.6. I think on this one, this is the follow-up on this is going to be most important. And Cheryl, for your team, I think I'd want to verify, I want to support the partial agreement of behavioral health, but I'd want to verify the criteria and work is actually being done. I think the recommendation is a good one and would like to see it completed. Supervisor Lee, I'm presuming that's okay with you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's correct. Yeah, these are regarding the high acuity needs youth.
Yes. And then 3.1 is in agreement. So I would say yay. 3.2, I would agree with probation on this one in terms of staffing flexibility and not being pushed into overtime. So Supervisor Lee?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. All right. And then item 3.3, I'm also in agreement with the assessment by probation in this area. I really do, Cheryl, want to thank your team because I understand what they were trying to do, but I do think that the changing nature of the policy in this area is one that would disadvantage us if we're not careful about how we're doing planning and how far in advance we can do planning. What I would recommend on this item is that the staff have a formal way, the probation department and the behavioral health department have a formal way of forecasting, but not over such long periods of time. And I think that what I would ask is that the forecasting be aligned with the minimum staffing requirements so that we're reporting out relative to those minimum staffing requirements whenever those become available. Any concerns about that? No? Okay. Then items, the last three items, there was agreement. And I would just say to all of you, thank you. This was exceptionally well done. And I suspect it's because the teams are also professional on all sides. So thank you. That would be my motion, Supervisor Lee.
I'll go and second it. My couple of comments basically is that I would like to ask the Probation Department to report back to FGOC with the updates concerning the findings from the study being done by the University of Cincinnati along the implementation of program to redesign and these outcome measurements as we discussed earlier. And I'm certainly in agreement that CSFC should be notified of this report as well, particularly around the program redesign and for the administration to do so. All right. And one last question that I have is the probation department looking to hire any of the 47 part-time staff as full-time? And is there even a need to hire more full-time staff at Ranch currently?
Yes, absolutely. Supervisor, almost all of our full-time staff come from our extra help staff, and then many of them become probation officers. So that tends to be a career path.
Okay, good. All right. And that's all I have. And with the motion and second, any more comments?
Supervisor, can I just ask you when?
Oh, sure, please go ahead.
Can you tell me when you would like this to come back to FGOC, the UCCI outcome measurement?
Yeah, do you think you can do it in 60 days?
No.
Okay,
And I will confer with your staff. We're in the process of finalizing some of the policies, procedures, the training plan, et cetera. We were particularly delayed due to COVID implementation and response as part of the UCCI development, but the staff have been doing amazing work trying to keep us on track, as well as our consultant for UCCI. So I will work with your staff to determine an appropriate time, hopefully within the next, maybe 6 months.
yeah, certainly sooner than better will be
Of
best. If we could get it by December before end of the year would be great, but if not, just let us know. Okay.
And if I could real quick,
Yes.
Chairperson, we are in the process of
Mhm.
doing that training. It's not like it's been completely put on hold.
Right.
I think Mariel speaking as far as the report back and getting all the information, but we are in the process of doing that training currently, both at the James Ranch and Juvenile Hall with UCCI.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And that's all I have. If no further questions, we're going to take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Yes.
and Chairperson Lee.
I as well.
Thank you.
Okay. I think 9's been deferred to the next meeting, and I believe the last item we got today is item number 10.
I have a request on this item, and that is that if we could ask that we have a very brief overview on the master plan and just accept the other report would be ideal, just from a time perspective.
Sure. All right. Yes, Mr. Williams. You're muted, Mr. Williams.
My apologies. I thought I'd already done that. Yes, that would be fine. I would like to turn it over to Don Rocha, Director of Parks, and he'll make the presentation on the park that Supervisor Chavez is interested in.
Great, thank you. Hi, Don.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you. And as our consultant team is bringing up the slides, I'll get started in consideration of the time. So the department is very pleased to bring this report forward. We do have our consulting team on board, and we're kicking off this project tomorrow with a site visit to the fairgrounds. We're pleased to report that. We've brought together as much information as we could ahead of time. So as we got the finalized process with our consulting team to give them the information forward so they can kind of hit the ground running. So we've been able to provide them a lot of the previous work that was done as serving as a baseline so we can accelerate our process moving forward. We were able to bring on a consulting team with a lot of experience in this area. I'll have them introduce themselves and kind of talk about the plan a little bit. The principal of the project will be Walls, Roberts, and Todd, WRT. They're the lead firm. They're represented today by their principal, John Gibbs, and senior associate, Poonam Narkar. And then Pros Consulting is also here representing, their president is representing Pros Consulting, Leon Younger, who brings expertise in operations, maintenance, and life cycle analysis for parks and recreation industry and fairgrounds of comparable types. So at this time, because of time, I'd like to turn this over to our consultant team. We could talk about a little bit more about their experience and also about the process moving forward. So I'll turn it over to John Gibbs.
Great, greetings. And I just want to ask, do we have 2 minutes or do we have 5 minutes?
5, please.
Okay, we're definitely going to be able to move quickly. John Gibbs, principal at WRT, based here in San Francisco. We're working throughout the Bay Area, California. We're a national practice, been around over 60 years. We're an interdisciplinary firm of landscape architects, urban planners, urban designers, and architects as well. I'm joined by my colleague Poonam Narkar, senior planner, urban designer, and you're going to hear from her in just a couple of minutes. Also joined on the call today, as was mentioned, Leon Younger. You're going to hear from him just a minute. Pros is a really important partner of ours on a number of assignments, really across the country. Brings really some key experience with another fairgrounds that he's going to mention in just a moment. We're also, as part of our team, is Fair and Piers, local transportation engineering firm, helping us understand parking and access will be important on this site. Just go into the next slide, just a little background about WRT. I think, first is to say we really work in a space where we understand community needs. We understand parks, recreation planning, and understand in particular communities of greater need. Some of our most underserved communities are some of our clients. We often refer to our community members as our clients. And so understanding those kinds of recreation needs are important. We're going to be bringing that experience to this project to do it at a high level, beginning to understand some of the needs based on the demographics of surrounding neighborhoods, surrounding community members, in order to understand some of those opportunities within the Fairgrounds Park as well. We work in sometimes very complicated projects, lots of competing needs, and we're able to bring both the technical expertise as well as the analysis to bear to come up with solutions and bring those opportunities to bear as part of a process like this. Some of our other experiences certainly is not just rooted across the country or California, but right here in our neighborhood here, working in downtown Santa Clara, working for VTA, working on the Capital Corridor Stationary Plan, just not far away as well. So good local expertise. We understand your community. We're down in your area pretty regularly. And I'm going to ask pros to introduce themselves.
Yeah, Leon Younger, President of Pros Consulting. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this project. Pros, as John said, basically focuses on operation maintenance plans. We've done a lot of different kinds of projects that are fairgrounds related. Probably our largest project that was Fair Park in Dallas, which is where the Cotton Bowl is and where the Texas State Fair is. But we've also done the site business plan for Oklahoma State Fairgrounds in Oklahoma City. And we've done a lot of other types of signature facilities that have fair within them as part of the overall site plan. And our work is really to work with the design team on how to look at the site and how to maximize the spaces, as well as to really focus on how to really energize any element of the system or areas within the park that needs to be addressed, and then develop a full operating pro forma on all aspects between programming, buildings, grounds maintenance, staffing, funding, revenue, all of the elements that go along with any type of signature facility like this.
Hi, I'm Poonam Nakar, Senior Associate with WRT, Project Manager on this project. As was mentioned earlier, we will be using planning work on this site as our baseline, and we'll be really hitting the ground running as we identify opportunities on the property for creating, for really prioritizing park amenities that enhance user experience for the visitors that come to the fairgrounds property, while also balancing, meeting the needs, recreational needs of the underserved community, looking at what are the gaps that exist in the local and regional context for recreation. And then balancing those with the proposed uses by the ENA holders that are in negotiation with the county. We understand that this whole process needs to be pretty streamlined, and we are looking to completing the process in 6 to 8 months. We have established very clear milestones to complete our opportunities and constraints analysis, a draft concept plan, and a final concept plan. And simultaneously, Leon will be developing the business plan. So the team will be working tightly in collaboration with each other as we take into consideration a number of needs, such as the programming, the park space planning, the circulation needs, and all of that stuff. And so we are looking to really kick off the project with a site walk tomorrow early morning with county staff, and keep moving forward, hitting these milestones that we have up here.
Thank you. That's the end of our presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you. Vice Chair Chavez, you have any questions?
First, I just want to see if there's any members of the public that are here.
Okay, anybody in public like to speak on this item?
No request to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Chair Chavez.
Yeah, thank you. I do just want to say, apologize for the speediness of it, but thank you. I'm very excited that you're going to get to take a look at the facility. I do want to emphasize that, part of what's going to be most critical is just really getting our stake in the ground with solid work product, because we have current partners that we're in negotiations with, and potential other partners that may come along based on the work that we can present. And so I'm just very excited about it. And in particular, as soon as possible, I want to just really encourage you to speak to the partners that are either in exclusive negotiating agreements with us now, or others who are interested, in others who passed us up. I think it would be important to know why people are, why some organizations may be turning away from making an investment here. So I think that would be very beneficial. And Don and Sylvia, thank you for pulling this together so quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the good report, and looking forward to some exciting update since you're kick off tomorrow, right? You said, yeah. All right. Let's see. Do I have a motion to accept the report?
So moved to receive the report for the entire report, including Glenn's. Thank you.
Great. And I'll second it. No further comments. Please vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Report has been received. And I believe I have come to the end of the agenda. Am I correct, Clerk?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Good. All right. So in that case, we're going to adjourn to the next regular meeting on Thursday, October 20th, 2022 at 2 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors chambers, if that's the case, or by Zoom. Anyways, thank you very much, everybody, and have a good one.
Recording stopped.
The meeting has officially adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.